Hi, welcome back to my channel, and today I am going to be talking about why I stopped reading submissions when I was a literary agency intern. Now, what a literary agency internship is all about is you're pretty much reading the slush pile for your agent and making suggestions based on what you know the agent's taste is. So I was able to work with a couple of amazing agents, and I got a little bit of a taste what it's like on the other side of the submission table, and I am here to give you advice for that. I tried to make them general enough based on all of my experiences going through my own slush pile and mentorship programs, as well as the agent slush pile, to hopefully give you guys some insight on maybe what you can strengthen more about your submission before you send it to agents. The reason why this is pretty important is that you really get one shot at querying a manuscript to an agent. So making a good first impression is kind of important, and I am here to hopefully help you with that. So I am going to start with things that are pretty easy to fix. The very first reason why I stopped reading was because the person did not follow the submission guidelines. Now, this is something that is very easy to do, but when you don't do it, it is kind of an automatic no in a lot of cases. So if you are submitting a picture book to an agent that only accepts middle grade young adult and adult fiction, then you will get auto rejected because the agent just doesn't represent that, and it'll be another rejection to add to your pile, and it could affect you negatively if you're getting lots and lots of rejections. You might be getting lots of rejections because you're not reading the submission guidelines. So you kind of get where I'm going with this. Please read submission guidelines. The other thing that I would often reject for was when the manuscript just had a lot of glaring grammatical or right typing errors. So this just means that the person didn't do something as simple as clicking spell check or grammar check on their Microsoft Word doc. Now, there are some situations where grammatically incorrect or a misspelled word is used on purpose, but usually that should be apparent in the style of the writing. If I can't tell why you're using bad grammar and it just looks like you didn't check your manuscript, then it's very possible that you're not getting across the tone that you want, and I'll probably reject because I just am not the right reader for this, and I'm not the right person to help you move forward with this manuscript. So now I'm getting a little bit more into the nitty-gritty. So one of the things that I really like to see in a manuscript that I have requested past the first chapter or 10 pages is to see a clear rising of tension in the first act. Now, the first act is pretty much the stuff that exists in your query letter, so it's everything up to the inciting incident. And if I don't see that there is a buildup of something, which the inciting incident is going to be kind of like a mini climax of, then I am kind of not very entertained by stories like that. Now, of course, there are some stories that are quieter and there are more character moments, but those character moments are also giving me something new. You're supposed to be giving me new information that makes me invested in your story, so I want to read on to see what is happening to these characters and to this world. And that's what I mean by there needs to be a rise in something, in emotion, in tension, in feeling. And if I'm not getting a feel of that, if everything sounds really flat, then I might not be inspired to read on. There are always exceptions, of course, to anything that I am talking about here, and the exception to this might be if the voice is just so amazing that I just want to keep on reading despite nothing happening. That could be great, but you can't always just depend on any one individual thing. You should definitely make sure that every part of your story is doing its job. Now, another reason that I stopped reading is a very similar thing to the whole idea that there's no forward movement, and that is if your character just seems like a two-dimensional player in the world that you're creating. So if the only reason for your character to exist is just to be a vehicle for the greater world, everything is happening to your character has no agency, they don't really have a personality, they're not really doing anything except for existing and walking through the world as like a lens for your reader to see things through, then I will say that that is an issue too, and I will probably get bored as a reader and not want to read on, and therefore I would potentially not finish this submission and end up rejecting it. So make sure that your character is a fully fleshed out person, not just your main character, but side characters are super important and dynamic, as well as your antagonist or villain. Those are really important characters to carry us through the story, so just make sure that they have a reason to exist in the story and they're just not vehicles for like the world to happen around them. The final one is world building, and what I mean by this is if the world building is confusing or incomplete, then it's very possible that I won't be able to care about what's happening to the character because I don't know what it means in the grander scheme of this world. So yes, we always tell you do not info dump in the beginning of your book because that really slows down the plot and the action. Do more showing than telling, and all of those things are still true, but you do need to give us a few context clues and keys to what is happening in this world and how this world functions in order to understand why the character's actions have consequences. Sometimes some authors do a really great job at having a slow reveal where the reader doesn't need to know everything, they just need to know exactly the things that directly affect the character and why that's important to us and why we should feel a certain way about it. However, there is a certain skill that goes along with that, and you have to be able to get a reader invested in the plot and the character in order to be able to suspend disbelief long enough to wait for you to be ready to reveal how the world works. So because that skill is not always natural to come across and sometimes needs to be built up through just like years and years and years of writing and just practicing, just make sure that what you're doing now is at least providing important details about the world so that the character's motivations, the inciting incident, and the conflict are very clear to the reader so that they know why they should be rooting for your character. So those are the main general reasons why I would stop reading a manuscript, whether as a mentor in programs such as Pitch Wars or Author Mentor Match, or as a literary agency intern. I hope that this was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to see them down below, or you can tweet at me at @CatShow, and I will see everybody next time. Bye!